Welcome back to the channel, all my gardening friends. Today we're continuing along with our fall transplanting of cool season vegetables. On our last video we put in some kale, some collards, and some Brussels sprouts in our traditional till drip irrigation, fertigation plot, kind of the way we always do things. Today we're going to be putting a lot more transplants in the ground in this no-till experimental plot we've got. Got a lot of good transplants here behind me, and we're planting all these things together because they have relatively similar maturity date. We're talking about things like cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower. Now the lettuce over here will come off quicker than some of this other stuff. For the most part, this stuff should all come off, you know, pretty close to around the same time. So we're going to go out to the plot here. Let me show you what we're working with. I'll show you where we're going to put everything, and then we'll get some of these puppies in the ground. So on that last video, we were working right here where we've got 2 double rows of carrots. We put in 2 rows of kale, a row of collards, 2 rows of Brussels sprouts. Doing this the way we always do it. We have buried drip tape here. We plant the plants on top of the drip tape emitters. We can water the plants really easily like that. We can shoot fertilizers through that drip system. So this is just kind of the way we always do it. But in this plot here, we're going to be doing things completely different. So the plot I just showed you, we tilled the compost in there, we buried our drip tape, all that good stuff. Here we're not going to be using any drip tape, and we're not going to be tilling this compost into the soil. So this plot hasn't been tilled since about mid-summer. We planted a cover crop of iron clay peas here, and right before those peas were about to flower, we mowed them down. We tarped this area, left the tarp on there for about 6 or 7 weeks, and then we just came in here a week or so ago and put a really thick layer of gin trash compost down on top of all that pea debris that was left right there. So we're not going to cultivate this. We're just going to leave it here. We're going to try to go as no-till with this plot as long as we can. We're going to plant just right into this compost here that's not incorporated into that lower soil layer. No drip tape, overhead irrigation only, and we're not going to use any synthetic fertilizers here. We're going to use only organic fertilizers. That way we can compare this system to the system we're accustomed to using. Now, as I was telling you, there's still a good bit of debris here from that iron clay pea cover crop that hasn't broken down completely. And if we dig underneath this compost, you can find even more of it down there. So we can't come in here like we normally would do and make a furrow for planting, because we're going to stir up all this plant debris. I want that stuff there to stay underneath this compost layer so it can break down kind of naturally there and kind of feed the soil a little bit. So we can't make a planting furrow like we normally do, but I've got an idea. It's pretty windy out here today. I hope you guys can still hear me. So I could take a tape measure and stretch it along this plot here, along where my row is going to be, and use that to kind of tell me where to put my plants. But I think this right here is going to be quicker and easier. So this is what we call our Dibble Wheel setup for the wheel hoe. You can put this on the single wheel hoe, the double, or the high arch. I like it on the double. It just gives me a little more stability, easier to push in a straight line. The setup is really simple. You just have this bracket here that attaches to the wheel hoe toolbar, and then you can set 1, 2, or 3 of these dibble wheels here anywhere along this axle. Since I'm just marking 1 row at a time today, I've just got 1 in the center here, and you have these little shaft collars here where you can lock that wheel into place anywhere you want along this axle here. Now the circumference of this wheel is 48 inches, and it will hold up to 12 dibbles, which would give you about a 4-inch space and 4 inches apart. When you consider the length of this dibble here, it ends up being closer to 6 inches. Now I've only got 6 dibbles on here. There's just a little nut under here. You can remove them and move them around really easily. I've got 6 dibbles on here, which is going to give me close to a 12-inch plant spacing, which is what we want on all this stuff: lettuce, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, all that. So it should work really good in this soil here. The soil's not fluffy because it hasn't been tilled. It's fairly compacted. This should make a nice little indentation to tell us where to put our transplants. I made some little marks here on the outside of the plot every 3 feet. We're going to plant all this stuff on a 3-foot row spacing, so we got a mark there We got a mark there for all 9 rows that we'll be planting here. So I'll just start here, drive a straight line, and let's dibble it up.
I've changed my mind. I'm not going back. I just don't fit right. And when I do, I feel something wrong.
So we can see our dibble marks right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If this soil was a little more wet and I had smoothed it over with a rake, it would have worked even better. But this right here will be sufficient. It'll tell us where we need to put those plants. I'll probably still have to take a little trowel or something to kind of get that transplant deep enough in the ground. But this has got our spots marked perfectly for us. So when I'm planting a lot of different varieties like this, more than one variety per row, I like to kind of make me a planting map. That way I can reference this and go back to it. I don't have to worry about putting labels out there in the garden and hitting them when I'm weeding or anything. So this is what we're going to plant in this plot. We got 9 rows marked off, probably still enough room for a 10th row there. So the first row we're going to plant some Harmony Butterhead lettuce. It's a green Butterhead lettuce variety. Been growing it for years, a great one. Second row we're going to plant half Skyphos red Butterhead lettuce and then half of this Cherokee red lettuce. Then we're going to come in with some cabbage on the third row. We're going to plant a whole row of Red Jewel, which is a red cabbage variety. I really like red cabbage. Row number 4, we're going to plant half of this Cheers cabbage variety, which was a great one for me last year. And then the other half, this Stonehead hybrid cabbage. Row 5, half Early Dutch cabbage, which is a early maturing cabbage variety. The other half Bobcat, which is another great green cabbage variety. Row number 6, we're going to plant all green magic broccoli. That's a winner for us. Been growing that for a long time. Going to get a whole row of that. Row number 7, we're going to plant half emerald crown broccoli, half Godzilla broccoli. Then rows 8 and 9 are getting cauliflower. Row 8 is going to be all white cauliflower, half Minuteman, half Twister. Row 9 is going to be half Graffiti, which is a purple cauliflower, and half Flame Star, which is a yellow to orange colored cauliflower. We've let our transplants dry out a little bit so they're easier to pull from the trays. We know they're ready because they'll pull out of there really easily, just like that guy right there, or this guy right here, or this guy right here. So it's time to go get them in the ground. So one thing I noticed immediately about this system here is that it's going to be a lot more time consuming to plant. When we're planting in that tilled soil, when we're planting on top of those emitters, that soil is nice and soft. We just stick the plants in here. Here, we have to dig it out a little bit to get the plants in there. Not a huge deal, but definitely something to consider, that this is more time consuming. We'll just see if it pays off in the end.
Like an aging star who lost the fire, sang a song too many times, and it feels like a liar.
Alright, so we got our lettuce in, and the more I look at it with this cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower, I think planting every dibble hole is just going to be too close, especially if we grow big old cabbage like we're planning on growing. So I think I'm going to split it up, and I'm going to go every other dibble hole on this cabbage here, just to give it a little more room in case we make some big old heads of cabbage. We're going to split it out like that, and we'll do the same thing with the broccoli, the cauliflower, and the rest of the cabbage.
So when I go out alone in this dark and lonely sea, will you reassure me and be the rock under my feet? And when I lose my faith and I circle on and on, will you point my shoulder so I can carry on?
All All right. So we got them in the ground, all 9 rows there in that no-till plot. Had to get the sprinkler on them bad boys pretty quick because I could tell they were fading fast. It's a little windy out here, and that wind just kind of dries out them plants. And the fact that they haven't been watered since last night because we were letting them dry out because they're easier to pull from the trays, all that in consideration, they needed some overhead water pretty quick. Now, let's take a minute and talk about what we're doing here, this no-till situation, and what we think the advantages and maybe the disadvantages are going to be of growing food this way versus growing it how we normally do. So all the no-till advocates out there will tell you that going no-till minimally or not disturbing the soil at all is going to build the soil food web, increase the biology in your soil, and decrease the need for fertilizers. I don't know if I believe that to be 100% true, but we're definitely going to see here. Now I am going to fertilize some, but just with organic fertilizer. So as soon, I'm not going to do it today. I'm going to let this overhead run just like it is. But the next time I overhead water these guys, I'm going to shoot some of this fish and guano through my fertilizer injector. And this stuff's going to feed the soil, increase that microbial activity, and also feed the plants. Really good stuff right here. So I'm going to feed them with some of that. I may come in and side dress with some of our complete organic fertilizer, that granulated hen manure. I may do that later on down the road. We'll just have to see. I don't know how long it takes for that supposed soil food web to kind of take into place, take action, and really start feeding those plants. My guess is it probably doesn't happen immediately. That if that is the case, we'll see the dividends of that further down the road. We'll just have to see. I'm a little bit skeptical, but hey, it's worth a try, and the comparison is definitely going to be interesting. As far as maintaining the plot, like I said, we're going to do as minimal disturbance as possible. We'll come in here with a little hoe and kind of manually remove weeds. We may run the wheel hoe between the rows a little bit, but definitely no deep disturbance at all. Now, that's going to be interesting how it plays out as far as our weed pressure goes. One theory would say that if you're not adding nitrates to the soil and you're not tilling up and bringing up old weed seeds, you're going to have lower weed pressure. The other thought process would be that there are weeds like nutgrass and rhizomous weeds that are kind of deeply rooted, and we know the only really way to get rid of those is just through aggravating them to death. So we'll see if we have some bad nutgrass problems here, or does that minimal disturbance really reduce our weed pressure. I think this is going to be more work and more effort than the way we normally do it. We'll just have to see. That's just my initial impressions. How much more work it is, I don't know yet. And is that extra work or extra input going to be worth it as far as what we end up getting when we harvest this stuff? Who knows? We'll see. Let me know in the comments below what you think. You think it's going to be more work? Is it going to be worth it? Is it not going to be worth it this season, but maybe be worth it more down the road? Let me know what you think. I'll put a link below to our garden seeds page. You can head on over to our website and get some of these varieties we planted today. I'll also put a link for that Dibble Wheel attachment, which surely made planting easier here today by giving us a quick way to mark off where our plants were going to go. If you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring that bell so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you did enjoy this one, check out these other 2 fall planting videos right here. I think you'll really enjoy those as well. We'll see you next time.